Cris Pannullo returned for his fourth game on Jeopardy! He won a 3-day total of $83,458. Obligatory thumbs up. Ken Jennings' instruction was 3 wins, 3 runaway games, and 3 daily doubles in yesterday's show have certified a solid early start for our champion Cris Pannullo. And with 34 correct responses in yesterday's showing, he's starting to rack up some super champion level stats. And how appropriate, because one of the categories was you're on a roll. Cris got the first daily double. He made it a true daily double for the 3rd game in a row, got it right, and went to $3,600. The mini anecdotal interviews were all interesting. Francis was born 2 months premature and is part of the 1 kilo club. I don't remember how much I weighed when I was born. I was born almost a month premature, so I'm in a different club that Francis is also in. Tori travels to 23 countries. The number 23 seems to have been coming up in Chris's run recently. I love to travel, but I have a habit of running into good or bad historic events when I'm traveling. For example, said Ken, in 2005, I was in Rome when John Paul II died. In 2009, I was in Athens for austerity protests. And then later in that year, I was in Jerusalem when war broke out in Gaza, so I should probably not go anywhere. Ken said, wow, after she said protests broke out in Gaza. Then he told her, country should bid to not have you visit. Now I'm worried about Tori. Actually, I just thought of this right after I typed the entire script. Now that she's in California, is there anything going on there? Or was there anything going on in August? I should ask. Given recent events, aka COVID, I wonder how much that relieved her travel situation. She has a contagious smile. I remember there was a contestant named Chris who traveled to South Africa when Nelson Mandela was released from prison. So it looks like they have the same amount of luck when traveling to different countries. Speaking of players named Chris, Ken asked Chris if he's a risk taker in real life. If the daily doubles are an indication. Now, I noticed you're willing to take risks when it comes to daily doubles on the show. Are you a risk taker in real life? Chris answered, oh God, no, Ken. I'm a generally terrified person. I drive slowly. I watch when I cross the streets. I'll check 7 or 8 times. I do not go to Jerusalem ever. He pointed to Tori. I just try to keep it very safe. Ken asked, so this is the most adventurous thing you might do this year? Chris answered, especially given how late in the year we are. This was filmed in August, unless he knew this would air in October. Even then, there's still 5 more months of real-life risks to potentially take. Come to think of it, I actually see a lot of myself in Chris, just because I drive like a grandpa, and I always check before crossing the streets a certain number of times. Tori ended the first round winning $1,000. France was in second place at $3,400, and Chris was already in a runaway at $12,200. You're on a roll as a category again? This time they had to name the role the actors were in. And since first episode's category the previous round, the entertainment categories appeared twice in this episode. Josie Giller, who has never been kissed and wants to change that. Never Been Kissed was Amy Schneider to get in her 36th game. Tori got the first daily double, wagered $2,500, and barely answered correctly. Officially censured by the state, he died in office a few years later. She answered, who was Senator McCarthy? Ken asked, more specifically, to which she clarified, Joe McCarthy. That took her to $5,100. I don't see why she didn't make it a true daily double. Carpe Diem and named this 1956 Saul Bellow novella about an incredibly rough 24 hours for Tommy Wilhelm. After no one buzzed in, the answer was Seize the Day. Sometimes the answers are more simple than we think they are.
He got both daily doubles.
Chris got the second daily double on Double Jeopardy, wagered $1,000, got it right, and went to $26,800. This word for a recurring musical theme in an opera or symphony comes partly from German for a lead. The answer was motif. In general, I would have nailed the words from German category. Seen here, this German name for a subterranean tavern comes partly from a word for town hall, not for a kind of rodent. What's a rat's killer? Translated literally, it means double goer. Obviously, what's a doppelganger? In 1820, the Edinburgh magazine expressed horror that Scotch women were being seized by the waist for this dance. What's the waltz? Technically, the answer should be was ist, since that's what is in German. This crumbly cake topping is from German for sprinkle. What's streusel? There was even a German phrase that wasn't in the German category. It was short stories and novellas. This morbid Thomas Mann novella has the German title Der Tod in Venedig. What is Death in Venice?
Der Tod in Venedig.
Nice German pronunciation. Francis ended Double Jeopardy and his score going down to $5,800. Tori was in second place at $7,900, and in his fourth game in a row, Cris was at a runaway at $28,800. The final Jeopardy category was travel. This should be right up Tori's alley. In fact, that's actually what Ken told her when the category came up. Ken said, "Tori, you like to travel." The question was, the 1948 edition of this publication said, "There will be a day in the near future when this guide will not have to be published." It's asking specifically about guides. Let's see. Shortly after the war, shortly before there was television in third of households across America. I got nothing. Before Tori's answer was revealed, Ken said, "We know you like to travel." She answered the Green Book, which was correct. Yes, the Guide for African American Travelers in the early 20th century wanted to know what businesses they could patronize safely during segregation. Of course, segregation was another factor in the 1940s. Tori was the only one to answer correctly. Both Francis and Tori wagered everything except $1. Cris risked $1,200, taking him down to $27,600. He's now at a 4-day total of $111,058. Well, that was suspenseful for a moment. If it was a bigger wager, as Ken noted it might have been, Tori would have been another second chance tournament qualifier. I don't think it's too big a deal. Congratulations to all three players. We'll see Cris again tomorrow. Will he be able to solidify his spot in the Tournament of Champions?
And as always, thank you for watching.